happen. So I really can't emphasize enough how important management responsibility is going to come into play with this transition to QMSR. The expectations are different than ICH Q10, which is a best practice or guidance, but not a regulation. And one of the common downfalls I see with pharmaceutical sponsors is that they're very much focused on just manufacturing from a quality system standpoint. 820 or the QMSR is a focus on the overall system itself and the interrelationship of all these processes, and management controls are the cornerstone of that quality management system. And the QSIT approach, which I mentioned earlier, is FDA's CDRH approach to inspection. And the very first system they focus on is management responsibility. And there's a reason for that. If the beginning of the inspection shows that management is not committed to ensuring a quality management system exists and is effective and compliant, then it already gives FDA a picture of what to expect from the remainder of the regulatory requirements. So as I mentioned, some of the common themes are a culture of quality. So this is more in terms of management is expected to talk the talk and walk the walk. So it's making sure that management is demonstrating their commitment through a set of behaviors, attitudes, activities, and processes, and that there's evidence of this in the actual documentation. As I mentioned, one of the key differences from a drug GMP is this QMS interrelationship of systems and processes. There's more explicit and prescriptive language in the management requirements. As I said previously, the expectations are not different, but it is now spelled out in the actual sections of 1345. Another common theme throughout is plan, document, and communicate. So from a management responsibility standpoint, and what a QMS needs to do to be effective is to plan, document, and communicate. And lastly, customer focus. There is an emphasis not on just meeting customer requirements, but ensuring that you're meeting the regulatory requirements that are expected to ensure those customer requirements are met. So briefly, I'm just going to mention some of the differences within the 1345 clauses. That's not to say there isn't other language in there you need to ensure you're meeting, but some of the key differences. So under clause 4.1, this is general QMS requirements. There really isn't anything comparable to this in 820 prior to the QMSR. And now there's a whole section on what is a quality management system? What does the organization need to do to establish a quality management system? What does the organization need to do for each of these QMS processes? How should they be managed? And then one of the key things that is spelled out is QMS responsibilities for outsourced processes. And again, this was always the expectation, but now it explicitly says you, the sponsor, have an obligation to make sure your suppliers are meeting the QMS requirements, and that you're required to monitor and ensure control over those processes, and that the controls are commensurate with risk. And I may not have mentioned that previously, but that is another big change throughout the QMSR, is that it's a risk-based approach. And for each of those processes, you should take a risk-based approach to how to ensure compliance and effectiveness. Management responsibility under clause 5 essentially replaces 820.20, and there are a few key differences there as well. That under management commitment, which I mentioned is a significant focus now, that management needs to make sure they're meeting quality objectives, and you need to demonstrate that in your management review record. So often we'll see, oh, we have these objectives, but where is the evidence that you're meeting these objectives? And if you're not, how you're going to ensure that you're improving your quality system to meet these objectives. The quality policy is important. Often I see the quality policy from a pharmaceutical sponsor standpoint is very drug focused. You need to make sure that you state in your quality policy that you have a part for a compliant quality system and how you plan to address that. And then management representative is fairly the same requirements, but they do have an expectation to promote awareness and QMS effectiveness. So to communicate to the rest of the organization, as well as management is required to establish communication processes and communicate to the organization.